Chris, what's going on with you?
Man, not a whole lot. Just on the grind, man, trying to make all my dreams a reality, you know?
Man, I got a lot to talk with you about. I'm
Yeah.
honored to get the opportunity to do this interview with you. I appreciate you doing it. But the first thing that I got to say is, man, I'm a little offended, actually. Your
What?
setup looks way better than mine. And I do this for a living. There's going to be people who say, anyways, but shout out to the way you got this thing set up, man. You look like the real deal right there.
I appreciate it. Well, sometimes you just got to make things happen. You got to pick and pull and throw some things together. And I think I'm a bit of a perfectionist, which I guess serves me right as a tattoo artist and an artist in general. I
Man,
kind
I
of
mean,
focus on the details.
yeah, man. I mean, look at this for real. Look at my background, how disheveled it is. Like I couldn't even, I got a pack of ramen soups right there, prison TV. You got the plant with the blue light behind it, man.
Yeah.
God bless it.
Come on, man. And I wish you could, if I moved this little partition here, you would see the mess that is really this room. But for cinematic purposes, I think we're doing all right.
The glazing is real, the comments will be. But, anyways, enough about all of that. Let's go ahead and get into this thing. Chris, you're a guy that I'm running across from TikTok, and we've gotten the opportunity to get in contact because of that. You're a guy that served 10 years in prison. You're down in the state of North Carolina, and people are going to learn through this interview that you are a badass tattoo artist, man.
Man, I do appreciate that. Just a lot of hard work and dedication and plenty of time on my hands to hone my craft.
Hey, can I show you a piece of my artwork real quick?
Yeah, please.
And look, I want your unbiased. If it's trash, just say it, okay? Do not try to sugarcoat.
Pull, pull it.
You're a great artist.
I've seen trash, so the bar is set low. Let's see what you got.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, you probably already saw a little bit of it. So, hey, look, I was a tattoo artist in prison too, but my style has always been like newspaper cartoonish type of shit. So,
Yeah,
check this guy out right here, man. Yeah, that's supposed to be me.
there
That's a
it
broke wing prison seagull, and yeah, man.
is. I mean, I've always been because I'm always stuck on the realism stuff. I always respect and love to see some more illustrative art like that. I think it's dope.
So don't smash it.
Don't smash it. Keep it. Keep it.
I appreciate it. Anyways, look, man, I like that we're able to start this off kind of goofing around a little bit. I'm going to be showcasing some of your artwork in this interview that we get the opportunity to do. And look, I want to give you the floor and let you introduce yourself to my audience and tell us a little bit of your story.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I I was always into art as a kid. I always drew. I was always the kid in the back of the classroom drawing and doodling and whatever and not focusing on school perhaps, you know. And I guess as a kid I never really fit into to the mold. I wasn't too excited about everything that everybody told me that I was supposed to be doing. So yeah, I think that that turned into, hanging out with the kids that were smoking weed all the time and causing a little trouble. My big thing as I got a little bit older was like skateboarding, um, graffiti. I got really into graffiti. I think I was more of a vandal at that point than an artist, but there was always this thing in me that really wanted to create and make art. However, you know how things go. You kind of go down that path and you have no stability. And I started kind of hanging out with a pretty rough crowd and you know where that goes with drugs and running the streets and getting in trouble and started getting trouble at a pretty young age and did a lot of stints in juvenile detention and group homes and um, that whole thing. And I think as it just progressed, you start out doing this one little thing. Okay, I'm gonna steal a candy bar from the store. You know what I mean? Then that's nothing. And then, you're, maybe selling a little weed. And as time goes on, you're dabbling with the harder stuff, and then to keep up with that lifestyle, you start selling the harder stuff, and with that brings in a whole crowd of kind of rougher people, and you can't really you get kind of sucked into this lifestyle. And even though I did a couple little stints in the county jail, like nothing really woke me up. Yeah, and I I slipped into a little bit harder of drug use, and I kind of clouded my vision and my thought process, and I was just making stupid decisions. But yeah, as that kind of progressed, I kind of turned into someone that lived 100% of my life, on the streets and um, in the drug world, really. And my artistic passion and everything fell to the wayside. Had no direction. I was a young man when I finally got in trouble, but I got in some big trouble when I was 21 uh, for armed robbery, and that was obviously just running around doing stupid shit. And yeah, found myself in a jail cell wondering what how I was gonna make it out. I knew at that point I was there for the long haul. But
Let me
yeah, that's
jump in
kind of
here a little bit.
yeah.
Um, when I was 18 years old, I had a robbery charge. Similar situation in terms of being with the rough crowd, dealing with the harder drugs. And I'll never forget, it wasn't an armed robbery, it was just a strong arm robbery.
Right.
And it was over money for drugs. I basically just took the money and never came back. And the guy said that I beat him up and robbed him, which was not the case at all. But that's what he reported to the police. So I'll never forget when my lawyer came to see me and told me that I was facing, if convicted, like 20 years in prison. You've got
Right.
an armed robbery charge. You're
Yeah.
21 years old. You could be facing
Um,
even more than that.
yeah. So all my when all my charges came together, I was originally locked up for one armed robbery, and I kept getting called down to, hey, we're linking you to this one too. We're linking you to this. So eventually, I had five armed robberies. Um, discharging a firearm. I had trafficking cocaine charges. I had this and that. So it was a whole heap of shit. And they all together, that I remember him saying that you can possibly get 135 years for all the crimes that you've committed. And I was like, shit, bro. Like, this is, I don't know where it's going to end. And I knew that wouldn't really, that was just a scare tactic, but I knew I was going down for a long time. And luckily for me, in the state of South Carolina, which is not where you want to get in trouble, I'll tell you right now. But I got all of them run concurrent and served we have the minimum mandatory in South Carolina is 10 years for an armed robbery. So that's what I got.
Yeah, you got blessed.
Yeah, I got blessed. My first, they came at me the first time with a plea deal saying that they wanted to give me 30 years. And when I sat back, I said, I would rather, I'm not signing the paper for 30 years. I'm 21 years old. I'm not going to wait till I get out and I'm 51. So that wasn't an option. So I sat back, I sweated them out for a little bit. After 2 years of sitting in the county jail, and eventually I got out and went to a rehab in the meantime. And when I got out of the rehab, I went back to the county jail, and they came back at me with 15 years, and I still wouldn't take it. So anyway, finally went to the trial. Both my co-defendants flipped on me and told on, pretty much just laid out the entire case, and yeah, there's nothing I could really do. So I copped the plea of 10 years. And one of my co-defendants got probation, and the other one got what they call in South Carolina is the 90-day shock for the Youth Offenders Act. So yeah, I went up the road for 10 and they were out before I even went to the real prison.
It's crazy. So much of what you've shared here, so much that I can respond to, but let me try
Right.
to make sure I hit on all these points. First
Yeah.
of all, I see South Carolina prison system pasted all over TikTok. It is wide open down there, firebombing stairwells and
Yeah.
cooking right out in the open with freaking campfires. It's a third world country, is what it looks like to some degree. But before we even get to that, you know, 10 years for multiple armed robberies. I was going to hate the way that this sounded, but I was going to say, like, who did you tell on? Because that sounds like a little bit of time to get for some really big boy stuff. And you're telling me your co-defendants flipped on you? One got
Yeah.
probation and one got 90 days. That is crazy to me.
Yeah, see, remember you were talking about earlier that what you pretty much did was rob people that were already in they were in the same thing. They weren't innocent, they weren't all innocent people. They
Okay.
were people that were, selling a little bit of weed here on college campuses and that kind of thing. So the bulk of the trouble I got in was not, I guess no armed robbery is justified, but you think if you were in that game and you got kind of rolled up for you got robbed or something, the last thing you're gonna do is call the cops. But you know,
How
hey,
do you report that? Hey, this guy just stole a quarter
yeah, this guy
pound
just
from me.
stole my weed. But
Crazy that you got it. Yeah, I guess it is a lot different than running up in a Walmart with a gun. So I
right,
think that there is a distinguishing factor there. And, you get 10 years. You got a hell of a lot more time than your co-defendants got.
yeah, that's what I'm. 10 years is not a little bit of time, so
It's more than I
it
did. I did 7 years. So yeah.
yeah. So I did in that state you do 8.5 years. So I did 8.5 years off the 10. And then the last 18 months I did out in the street on supervised probation.
Well, there's a lot that I want to get to. Um, I want to say this as we continue to move forward here. Thank God that you are a badass tattoo artist. I mean, you're probably one of the best artists that I've seen. No glazing intended right there. But thank God that you're a really good tattoo artist, because had you come home and tried to get a job with all of that on your record, dude, it was going to be hard for you to get a job.
It would definitely be hard. I could see people hiring somebody that had some, drug charges or whatever, but when you have those violent charges, people tend to frown on that kind of thing, and justifiably so. I think if I was a business owner and someone's applying with those kind of charges, you definitely gonna take a second look at them. But
Yeah.
for me, while I was locked up, it took a couple years. The first couple years, I just kind of felt sorry for myself, and I was getting back into the same old shit that I was on the street, because you already know everything, especially in South. Everything that you can get on the street is right there too, and it's you can't escape it. It's right there in front of your face. So at first, my coping mechanism was just to get back into the bullshit, which got me immediately in trouble, and it's just not a way to serve a long stint of time. Constantly getting locked up, having to watch your back, other people trying to rob you, because now you're in a whole different environment. Now you ain't on the street, and you're with the worst of the worst. So especially when you get a charge like that, you're not thrown into an easy A camp. You're thrown right in the belly of the beast. And I was, like I said, by the time I got there, I was 23. I'm a skinny white kid in South Carolina, and that can make an easy target. But like you said before, the tattooing, and I already had a background in tattooing a little bit.
Hold on. I
And
don't mean to cut you off, but we're getting
yeah,
some audio issues right now. And I don't know if it's from like a weak Wi-Fi signal or what it is, but try to talk real quick.
can you hear me?
Yeah, but it's breaking up a little bit, and I don't know what that's from. Um, it's got to be a connection issue to the internet. Your video's coming through crystal clear, so I don't know why the audio's coming through so choppy. Do I sound okay on your end?
Yeah, you sound fine on your end.
All right, let me do something real quick, and I hate to cut you off in the midst of this. I'm going to stop this recording. I'm going to start a new meeting. I'm going to send you another link. I'm sorry for that, but I don't want to lose the quality of the audio, and it is pretty bad. So let me stop it and restart it, and let's jump right back into this, okay?
All right, sounds good, brother.
All right. Hey, Chris, I'm sorry for this Timu interview that we got to do like this. You got a storm going on down your end. I got one taking place in my end. So we may have a little bit of audio issues, but forgive me for that.
It's all good.
I'm sorry to interrupt you the way that I did. If you want to try to pick back off where you were at, pick back up where you were at.
All right, so where were we? Yeah, so I remember, so you talked a little bit about how tattooing kind of it was almost like a pass. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
When you come into prison, especially me, like I think they're easier targets, but I'm not, I ran around the streets, I did some things, but I'm not affiliated gang member. I'm not there was a lot more tougher individuals in the prison than me. So I was kind of I walk into the yard, everybody's like, okay, let's see what this dude's about.
So did they try to
Um,
push up on you on some extortion type stuff when you got there?
Yeah, absolutely. Luckily, the first prison I went to, I had a couple homeboys that were there and kind of like grabbed me in, like, yo, this is kind of the way the way it happens. And I think South Carolina's really big. Of course, they're the gangs are big and everything, but the big thing is like kind of where you're from. So if I would, because I was living in a certain part of in Charleston, South Carolina, the people from Charleston are kind of untouchable to the rest of the state. If you're from Charleston, nobody outside of Charleston can fuck with you, but the people from Charleston will act like they're your friends, but actually, you can catch some issues too. But uh, anyway, that only goes so far. You know what I mean? Me being a tattooer, um, the first thing I did, I have all my drawings and stuff, and I got on the yard and I'm showing people, showing some of my drawings, and automatically they're like, "Yo, so you do tattoos?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just trying to scope it out and get a feeling for how everything works, because I don't just want to jump in and maybe step on toes or, whatever. I'm just stepping into you know, a maximum security yard." So I kind of wanted to make sure I'm treading lightly. I don't want to make too much noise when I first touch down. But how that the thing about that is, I tattooed one of my homeboys. He goes out, shows people, it just causes a stir. Everybody's like, "Damn, bro, like I need to get some of that. I need to get some tattoos that actually look good."
Well, let me
And
jump in because I'm famous for doing so.
yeah.
You're getting ready to go on a big podcast in the near future. I won't put that out there. I don't want
Yeah.
to put any
Yeah,
spoilers
yeah.
out there, but
Right.
I'm sure he's better at interviewing than I am. But nonetheless, I just got my way of doing it. I'm on your TikTok right this second, and I'm going to share some of this in this video, like right here. I want to showcase like this particular piece that I'm looking at right now, which is like this St. Michael's piece that you caption this. This is, I mean, the level of detail in this, the black and gray work. I mean, I told you when I spoke with you on the phone that it's really got like a prison style to it.
Yeah.
And I just want to showcase that for people to actually see some of this work that you're doing, to really see the level of, your tattooing ability.
Yes,
Dude, you're
absolutely. Yeah.
badass, man. And I'm looking at this full sleeve in this next video. It looks like a duck hunting sleeve. You got the ducks, you got the shotguns, shells, you got the cattails and the marsh. Uh, but this is, I mean, it's clear from to me that your style is definitely like a prison style.
Yeah, it definitely has that aesthetic to it. If you really in black and gray tattooing, it originated in prison. You know, people weren't really doing, there was, you know, traditional tattoos, there was that, but the black and gray style, and I think that's something that's very misrepresented. People think, oh, prison tats, oh, that looks like a prison tat. But a lot of this fine line black and gray stuff, it came out of like California prisons. That's
And
where like,
I don't say that to disrespect your work at all. If anybody says it in that regard, I mean, look at this
no.
thing. It says "We the People." You got the freaking Constitution on this money, man.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So really, I think I'm sure you saw it too, but some of the best artists that I've met in my entire life, even to this day, and I've been out and I've been, you know, tattooing all over the country. Still, some of them I would say they could still compete with some of the best artists out here on the street. But yeah, I think learning to tattoo back there really pushes your limits. You don't have access to all the professional equipment. You don't have access to the internet as much. So a lot of this stuff takes a lot of creativity and a lot of using just basic stuff and using your own what's inside you to really create a piece of art. So I think it was actually a benefit to me. And when I actually got professional equipment, it was like, man, yeah, I got this.
I did a video years ago. I don't know if you've ever seen that video. It was called "How Tattooing Saved My Life in Prison." I was a prison
Yeah.
tattoo artist. Have you seen it?
Yeah. I saw that. I think that's what originally drew me to start following your stuff because I was like, man, that's he's pretty much telling my story.
Well, man, good shit. I'm glad that we can connect
Yeah,
with that.
absolutely.
I was a bottom of the barrel tattoo artist. I mean, I could do lettering and, I was not doing portrait work. I was not doing full sleeves. And, if dudes did come to me for the full sleeves, it was probably because I was the cheapest, right? Like
Right.
my stuff just was not that good. It's just what it was. You're a badass tattoo artist now. Were you always this good while you were in prison? I mean, you had 10 years to be there, so maybe your skill developed throughout the course of that time, but talk about that.
Yeah, so like I said, when I was younger, I was always into art and I drew a lot. But when you have everything stripped away from you and all you have is, for me, my only escape was a pencil and paper. So the foundation to all my tattoos, you have to learn how to draw. So I would sit in my cell and I would draw for, 8, 12 hours a day, every day for years. And practice tattooing, and all then pretty much all my drawings were translatable into tattoos. So I was decent, but there was a guy that I'd met that he was in a different dorm than me, and I heard about him. Everybody talked about him on the yard. He's the best, and I eventually got moved from my dorm over, and me and him became cellies. And learning directly under him, he was a tattooer on the street, and his art was absolutely phenomenal. So being it was almost like having an apprenticeship. Um, he showed me everything about tattooing. He showed me everything about being a prison tattooer, and what to do and what not to do. Um, Taught me how to keep everything safe and clean and whatever, and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of
Yeah.
the day, he helped me take my art from being prison style tattoos to being like tattoos you'd see on the street and be like, okay, that's a good tattoo no matter where you're at. So that I got to attribute a lot to that guy because he really showed me what tattooing was. At first, it was kind of more of just like a hustle, but then it became like, damn, this is something that I can do, and this is something that when I get out of here, I can be successful at.
Interesting what you share about this other tattoo artist who was better than you, who takes you up under his wing. Where during the time that I served, most tattoo artists beef with each other. You're taking their
Yeah.
work, or, they didn't normally get along. I mean, yeah, sometimes they did, but sometimes they didn't. Did you ever see any beefs behind or from other tattoo artists?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think me coming in and you already have these established, like you have the tattoo man, you have this guy and this guy. And I think when I came in, I was really a threat. They were like, fuck, like nobody wanted to fuck with them anymore because they were like, this dude actually knows what he's doing. So, there was a little bit of hate from the side, but I think because I jumped in tattooing some of the heads of all the organizations there, So I'm tattooing the head blood, I'm tattooing the head whatever, So at this point, I have I'm kind of linked in with everybody.
You
There
got a
I'm kind of untouchable at this point.
yeah, like indirect protection.
Exactly. Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean,
that's what it
nobody
is.
wants to it well, I think in any place on the street or on if you're valuable, people want to keep you around. So, I think without that skill, I honestly don't know if I would have made it out on the other side. Or I definitely know my time would not have been what it was.
Crazy to think about. My situation's very similar.
Yeah.
Um, let's talk about the people who didn't want you in there, though. And this could be, because I'm sure you dealt with the snitches, you dealt with the people who were, dropping dime to get an extra tray, or maybe you weren't. South Carolina, Virginia, two totally different states. What I see on the internet about South Carolina, like I had mentioned, third world country. So maybe the telling wasn't as much as I dealt with at a level two prison in Virginia. Did you have people who were trying to get you in trouble for whatever reason? Maybe it was another tattoo artist. And did you lose
Yeah.
good time and get charges? Did you get caught tattooing?
Yeah, so like you said, like South Carolina is literally like a third world country. The thing about it is it's so corrupt that then these people don't the guards in there, they don't make any money.
Yeah.
So they can be paid off, and most of them really knew what was going on, but I think they saw it as being like a respectable hustle. You got people in there making knives, you got people selling cell phones, you got people selling drugs, then you got the tattooer guy, like do we really need to put too much heat on them? But yeah, but at the same time, things would go good for a while, and then all of a sudden you get hit, and then you get hit again the next week, and then you get hit again. But where I was at, I don't know if it's still like that here, like that now, but it was called a minor charge. So they would say you get 15 hours of extra duty, and you'd have to go and like do some bullshit like you'd lose your canteen or you lose your commissary for a couple weeks or something, or you lose your visits. You wouldn't really get locked up. They wouldn't lock you up for it or take good time.
You said
So
extra duty. I've heard of
yeah.
prisons down south, Louisiana, maybe
Yeah.
Mississippi or Alabama, maybe South Carolina and Georgia. I don't know where you have to work while you're there. Do you get paid to work? Do you have a state job?
No, you don't get paid to work.
But you
So
have to
I
work. So when you said you get 15 extra hours of duty, is that what we're talking about?
no, so they would do it. It was almost honestly like the extra duty. I didn't even really mind. So they'd come and they'd gather 15 of us up or so, and walk us around the interior perimeter of the fence and make us pick up trash and shit like that, or can't remember what else they made us do.
Damn,
Anyway, like
y'all was doing community service in the prison.
pretty much like walking around with a shotgun behind you and in front of you, walking around the perimeter picking up trash and stuff like that. But honestly, it wasn't really a thing. Like if you like getting caught tattooing was a very minor thing. And I think it depends on where on the yard that you were at. I went to 5 different prisons while I was in South Carolina. And the first and second one were, at the highest level. It's 1, 2, 3, and they were threes. And those places, since there's so much shit going on all the time and people are literally getting stabbed, and the things that you hear about on TV, that's really happening. But when you get down to the lower security prisons, it seems like that's when they get a little bit stricter and more petty on the smaller stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got definitely. I don't have enough fingers to count how many times that I got uh, busted, but it was never it was really never any big trouble. And I know it's different everywhere, but they honestly just didn't really give a, they really didn't care. in South Carolina that much.
And that's obviously evident due to how much cell phone video content comes out of South Carolina,
Yeah.
especially in relation to guys cooking on the stairs,
Oh
with
yeah.
these full blown fires going on. The guards don't get paid enough to care, like you had said. But
Yeah. I
I want to
I think
get back
they
to this. I'm sorry.
okay. No, go ahead.
Sorry about that. I want to get back to this. You said you don't get paid to work there, so you can't have a state job and make 25, 45 cents an hour?
No, so they have it's called Prison Industries, and it's a very select group. You have to be have good time. You can't have any infractions or whatever. And they have little things. They had one where it was like a transmission shop where you had to go in there and break apart transmissions, and you got like 60 cents a day or some shit. But for me, I was like, I can do a tattoo. My rate was $100 a day. That was my tattoo rate. And I said, I work on you all day long, but it's going to be $100, and put it on my, put it on. We had a green dots at that time, which is like
Yeah.
almost like it's like a charge card. So for me, I was like, what am I going to, you think I'm going to work all day, every day and get 60 cents a day? Nah, fuck that.
The
But
risk was worth
yeah,
the reward.
yeah, you're regular. So when I got moved down to a medium security prison, I worked on the chicken farm. And you're up there at the chicken farm at 5 o'clock in the morning, don't get off till like 5 o'clock at night, um, doing some straight, some literal like slavery work, and you don't get paid anything. But to
Mm.
some people, and to me too, it was good to be able to, they would walk you with shotguns out the back gate to the chicken farm that was right behind the prison, and then you would just work out there all day. And to me, it was a change, man. I hadn't seen a tree, I haven't touched the ground, I haven't touched grass in years. So to be able to do stuff like that was that was, of course, it's not payment. It's not, but it was better than sitting there staring at the walls all day.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, let's continue on the tattoo topic because
Yeah.
I got a lot of experience with this myself, and I think this is an interesting conversation to be had. Virginia, we had things such as universal adapters where you could adjust speed. Guys were making shading bars. You're down in South Carolina. There's so much stuff that's coming in from the streets, I imagine. Were you getting real ink or were you burning soot? Talk about the equipment that you were using.
Yeah. So let's say for the first 4 years, it was pretty much everything that you could kind of get off the land, like Walkman motors, uh, springs to make the needles out of, burnt soot. I used to that's what I do. I find a couple people that didn't really make any money, and I'd teach them how to burn the soot or make the needles or how to collect the motors and everything like that. And I'd kind of pay them off to make that kind of stuff for me. So I was in constant supply. Even if my room would get shook down and they take all my shit the next day, I'd be running back again. But yeah, after that, when I got down to a little bit lower, I eventually got like straight up a tattoo pen with cartridges and everything, real ink off the street. I had, yeah, I had everything. I had everything that you would have out here. I had Maticide. I know the tattooers will know what that is, like professional hospital grade disinfectant. Um, you know, back when I was back in the big prisons, I was using like kitchen gloves and shit like that. But then I had boxes of real gloves from the mechanic shop, and yeah, it kind of after I'd say the last 3 or 4 years, I was using pretty exclusively like uh, tattoo equipment from the street.
Want to
So
do one other thing real quick. I want to showcase another thing from your TikTok here. It says art I made in prison part 4. I'm guessing you got quite a few of these videos.
yeah,
You take forever to turn this picture around, but once you do, I mean, look at this freaking Jesus piece, right? That's what that is,
yeah,
man. And you made that in prison.
yeah. So I'm telling you, the thing people always want to talk about all the action and all the shit that's going on in prison. What people really don't talk about that much is the boredom and the sitting around not doing shit and going crazy in your own head. And my remedy to that was drawing, man. When I'm telling you I was obsessed, that is all I did. I drew tattoo designs and drew portraits for people. Drew that all I did was art. So that's really how I got good pretty quick. And that I really don't think if I didn't get incarcerated, I would be at the level that I am now because there's so many distractions and you don't
Yeah.
really have any distractions back there.
You went to a 10-year college for art.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
you're a high level tattoo artist at this point in your life. We'll get to that. Um, but in prison, you were that as well, a high level artist. What
Yeah.
kind of money are we talking about here? You're talking about you were paying guys to make stuff for you. So you never, I mean, you had a supply chain. You literally had people employed who were keeping your business operational. You're like a freaking tattoo CEO in prison. What kind of
Well,
money were you making in there? We're talking, I mean,
yeah, well, I
substantial.
I think that's another reason why you're good. You're taking care of everybody and everybody's kind of benefiting from you being there. But like I said, my rate eventually, I think at first I was, do it for honey buns and whatever. Um, but it got to the point where you can only fit so many honey buns in your locker. You know what I
Mm,
mean?
that's a back
And
piece right there.
now that I quit smoking cigarettes and quit spending all my money on cigarettes and weed and shit like that, I was like, I'm gonna start stacking up money. So when I get out, I'm gonna be able to do something. So my rate got to $100 a day, which, now my rate is, 15 times that. But in prison, $100, you make $100 in a day, you're doing good. It's a whole different economy back there. If you
Yeah.
talk about $5, you're like, damn, that's some money. $100, you're like, God dang, that's a lot of money. But um, so eventually it got to that, and I was putting money in an account that I had out on the street. And when I finally came home, I had a pretty good cushion. Um, I don't know if I can quote the exact number, but it was more money than a little bit. It was probably more money than the COs made in a year.
You made more money. I mean,
I
come on,
mean,
how much we talking about here? Like 50,000?
I'm talking about when I came home, I think I had probably something around, 35,000 saved up.
Man, that's a good little freaking start getting back on your feet.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Shit. I don't know how it is. I know at some other places they buy you a bus ticket, they give you a little bit of money to go home with. South Carolina, they open up the gates and they kick your ass out and they don't give you nothing. They give you nowhere to go, no direction, no nothing. It says just good luck. So for me,
They don't even care if you have a home plan. Like you have to have a
no, they don't
verified
check.
address.
They don't even do any of that. They don't do any of that shit. They just kick you. They just open up the gates and
Yeah.
if you're getting out on parole or something, you probably have to do all verify that kind of stuff. But if you max your time out like I did, you're gone. Like, see ya.
You say
Um,
you maxed your time out, so you don't have parole or probation or anything like that?
no, so South Carolina, they do like if you're a violent offender, you do 85% of your time, and then when you get out, you're on it's like a light supervision. Like you pretty much don't have to be. It's like unsupervised. So if you mess up again, like you're going straight back and finishing your time up. Like
Which is
it's
only
that
a
kind.
year and a half.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But as you know, a year and a half, that's usually where people return. So,
Oh yeah, for sure.
but
You've
yeah,
been
I
home
think
now for 2 years. Sorry.
so. In February, so my release date was 2/2/22. So February 2nd, 2022 is when I came home, and yeah, I celebrate that every year. Just grateful to never have to live that life again because the last thing I want to do is really glorify the whole experience because it's not something that anybody wants to do. It's fun to talk about, but at the end of the day, this shit is not fun.
No,
The
for
prison
sure.
thing,
I
and
can't even imagine what that time was like. 10 years down in South Carolina. Yeah, that could have been rough, especially if you
yeah,
didn't have anything of value to them
absolutely, and
guys up in there.
like it could have been rougher, but at the end of the day, it was rough. It was still rough, but I think the tattooing. made it so I was at least taken care of. I was in the target. I didn't have to worry about other inmates too much. So
Well, look, you don't want to glorify prison. I'm not going to ask you to share any outlandish stories. I get enough of those. But I do want to ask one question, and I'd like you to share about this. I ask everybody that I meet who does or did tattoos while incarcerated. What do you remember as maybe one of the more crazy tattoos or tattoos that you did that you didn't really want to do, or something in regards to that? I'll give you an example. I tattooed a guy's name on the neck of another guy one time. And back in the early 2000s, that was a lot more taboo than it is today. But,
yeah,
and it was they met in prison. Were they going to be together forever? Like, this was the wildest shit. Did you ever do any
yeah.
tattoos that you regretted or didn't want to do, or you just thought, like, what am I tattooing here?
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely have a lot of that. There's two in particular though. Like, okay, so back then, you're putting stencils on with deodorant and ballpoint pens, So I had someone come to me and they were like, want you to do a portrait of my grandma. So I said, all right, yeah, I can do that. And then immediately when those words came out of my mouth, I said, fuck, I'm not ready to tattoo a portrait with this homemade tattoo machine. But you give somebody your word. You know how it is in prison. You tell somebody something, you better, you better do it.
Yeah.
So, and this was not the type of person I really wanted to back out and not come through for. But then at the same time, I didn't want to completely screw up this this tattoo on this guy. So anyway, I tattoo him. I'm getting into it. First wipe, the stencil's gone. And I'm tattooing a portrait. A stencil is extremely important on a on a portrait. So I don't know how the hell I did it, but when I got done, I was like, I looked at it, I said, all right, go check it out. He goes, checks it out. His homeboys check it out. God damn, that shit goes hard, bro. That thing is nice. And I was like, so, yeah, hell yeah, it is. Yeah, it looks good. But
Did it look good?
no, it did not look good.
Mm.
It did not look good.
I
But
was about to say, damn, man, you freehanded a damn portrait, man.
yeah, I think I've seen worse, but to me, it was probably the worst tattoo I've ever done in my life. But also, I did, I would do any tattoo or whatever at first, and I was doing some stars on this guy, some gang shit.
Some 5 point stars, some 6 point stars.
Yeah, some shit like that. And I didn't really know the rules back there, and what I didn't. I've tattooed gang shit on a bunch of people, but apparently it's not the right thing for a white dude to tattoo a blood gang star on them or whatever.
I didn't know that
So
neither.
yeah, I know, but it caused a big old problem. So at that point, I was like, I refused to do any gang shit, any gang tattoos anymore. That was it. There was no
You
more.
were
If it came down to doing any kind of gang shit, I was not your guy. There was other people on that I would send them to that would do it, but I was done doing gang tattoos.
I would have figured they would have made you FOB, friend of blood, or however it's referred to as. I've never
Yeah,
heard that. But
yeah.
some of the
I well,
places and some of the gang tattoos that I did were in a jail where, these gangs were fugazi at best. But you're at a,
yeah,
real deal prison.
yeah.
And
I would say that,
obviously,
but I think the difference between somewhere like South Carolina and somewhere like California. California's got the real deal. It's structured. It's everything's by the book. South Carolina's kind of a free for all, and they might not all be like really officially part of anything, but that almost makes it more dangerous because they don't have the structure. So one person says one thing, or one person disagrees with one thing, and the big homie says that this is legit, and then the other person says it's not legit, and then it's a mass confusion. It's like the blind leading the blind. So um, either way, whether it's a thing that you can do or can't do, there was so much drama after that situation, and somebody ended up getting hurt, which was not me. But Um, I just at that point I was like, man, I'm not doing this shit anymore. You know,
So they they
that's
they beat dude up for letting you tattoo him.
yeah, yeah,
Good shit, man.
yeah,
That's hilarious. I mean,
yeah. Yeah, I'm
um,
pretty sure he got airlifted. He got airlifted off the. I don't know if there was
oh
more. There's
damn,
probably more going on, more in the more into the story than just that. But
he might
I'm
have been
not gonna.
faking all the way.
He might. Yeah, exactly. He might have just. I don't know the details. First of all, I don't. I never got down with that shit, so I didn't want to be involved. So
Yeah,
I didn't have to. I think that's like if we say that again, the tattooing enabled me to not have to be involved in a specific group. You
I don't
know.
mean to make the jokes that I did there. Forgive me for that. Um,
Oh, yeah.
let's talk about this. You know, you've been home now for shit, what, going on 3 years?
Yeah.
Man, you had shared with me on the phone call that we had that prior to you even getting released, because you're such a good artist, you already had either a job lined up or you were already apprenticing in a shop. What was going on with that?
Yeah. So, for the last 3 or 4 years, several times throughout I had an Instagram account. And, when I left prison, I had like 10,000 followers on Instagram. So, I was messaging, I knew where I was coming back to. I was coming back to Wilmington, North Carolina, and I was messaging all the best shops in town. And, I started talking to him. I was like, "Yeah, I'm coming to town. I'd love to have a job." And I'd send him pictures of my tattoos and pictures of my drawings and everything. And they're like, "Hell yeah, I'd love to have you." Because at first, I didn't know if I was going to be able to get out and get a job. You know, I didn't know if that was the thing. But I guess because my art was on a certain level and my tattoos were on a certain level, that most shops wanted to have me. So it wasn't until about 2 months before I came home, I was like, there was three shops, and I talked to them. I was like, every one of them, I said, listen, I got to tell you something, and please don't tell anybody, but I'm in prison right now. And every single one of them just like started laughing, like bullshit. This is not, these aren't prison tattoos. This isn't, everything. And I sent the one shop that I ended up working at. I sent him a selfie of me like sitting next to the bars on the windows, and he was like, "Oh shit, what the fuck?" But anyway, so I got out. My cousin was in town. He drove me straight to the tattoo shop the next day. Got a job. 3 days later, I'm working. I'm tattooing. I'm tattooing people right on the street. Just jumped right into it heads first.
I
Yeah.
can imagine, like, I can't imagine, but I do want to say this. So, Virginia and North Carolina are different in regards to the tattooing. In Virginia, you have to be a licensed tattoo artist through the of um, Department
Yeah,
of something. You got to
the
be a
health
licensed
department.
tattoo artist. North Carolina, you don't, though, right?
Yeah, so North Carolina, you do, but it's pretty quick. So all I had to do was before I got out, I had a phone, so I got my bloodborne pathogens certificate online. I had that. Um, I had the health department lined up. So when I got out, I came in the first day. The second day, or the first day I started tattooing, the health department was there to check my station, make sure I asked me a couple questions, gave me my permit, and I was off to the races. That's all it took.
I just can't imagine coming home after 10 years, jumping right into tattooing. Now you're tattooing in the street, in a shop, in one of the best shops in the area, if not the best
Yeah.
shop. You just did 10 years. So you're tattooing your first client after 10 years, only being released, what, 3 days, like you said?
Yeah. It was absolutely, you already, I know you had it too. When you come home, you're not right. You're shell
Yeah.
shocked. Bro, I had to pretend. I remember I had someone come in. I have to talk to him. I still smell like a jail. You know what I'm saying? Um, I'm talking to this person and I'm trying to say, "Oh yeah, yeah, I got your design and I'm gonna go back and draw and everything." And inside, I'm freaking the fuck out because if I mess this up, first this is my first day on the job. I don't know how to use any of the equipment. I was trying to do the stencil by hand, and the guy that I worked with, who's a real dear friend to me now, he was like, "What are you doing?" He had to show me how to use the stencil printer the first time. I literally faked it till I made it. And it really happened fast. And I think you get a lot of people that when they come out, they they isolate because they don't know how to communicate with just the general public. And I didn't either, but jumping straight out of that and into right into it, I have to deal with this person, this person, this person. I have to set up appointments. I have to it made me shake the prison off really fast. You know, I still have, I'm sure, PTSD and trauma and whatever, but that enabled me to really get back right really fast. I think tattooing was probably the one of the best, or if not the best ways to acclimate back into society for me. First of all, everybody I work with is cool. Um, Everybody that I tattoo, they all come from different walks of life. So I have to deal with all and learn how to deal with all these different people. I'm learning how to use my calendar on my phone. I'm learning how to do all these things. So, um, learning how to become a, a or for the first time in my life, a respectable member of the community. Um, it was a crash course, and there was times where I'd literally be sweating with panic attacks for no reason, but I had to just keep on pushing through because I knew this was my dream. And that I was just so filled up, like, damn, all these things that I've been working for this entire time, all the uh all the stress, all the drawing, all the everything. I'm out here at a real tattoo shop, and real great tattooers respect me and respect my art and see my tattoos, and they're like, "Bro, like that's the shit. Let me watch you and see how you do that." It was almost like a dream come true. It didn't even feel real, but um yeah, I guess all that work and all that dedication and everything that I put into it, all the fruits of my labor just finally paid off.
Man, good
So
for you, man.
yeah,
You've got a lot of social media. You're on
yeah,
TikTok, you're on Instagram. I'm learning
yeah,
from this interview. I want to link
yeah,
those so people can come find you,
yeah,
hit you
absolutely.
up, see what you're doing. I am going to do that with this video, so we'll do that. But you've been home now for almost 3 years. You're
Yep.
working a great shop. You're
Yeah.
making great money. I mean, you're making great money.
Yeah, I'm definitely doing good. I'm definitely doing good. I mean, I'm doing better than I could have ever imagined. Um, I kind of pictured it being a lot rougher of a start. But I think I put, especially in my career, I put the work in. I earned my stripes almost before I became a licensed tattooer on the street. I already had following. People already knew my name before I touched down. And it was, I've connected with a bunch of tattooers across the world and across the country. I've worked for Sullen Art Collective, which is one of the biggest t-shirt companies in the world that's tattoo related. I've done a couple t-shirts for them. So I had a friend that was, or a client that was a Marine, and he was stationed in Japan, and he was in the store and showed me a picture of my design on the shirt in Japan hanging up. So honestly, like sometimes, like I just it I'm grateful every day that I had that experience. It was the best and worst thing that ever happened to me. But um yeah, now my life is great, but it took a lot to get here. And yeah, it's leaps and bounds better than I really ever could have pictured it.
You've been home now for 3 years.
Yeah.
You're married. You got a house. You're a successful member of society, an
Yeah.
upstanding member of your community.
Yeah. I got a 1-year old son. Um yeah, I think the main thing is, with all that prison stuff, one thing I tried to remember, one thing I did not want to be when I first came, I was so young and impressionable, and some of the stuff seemed like I had to fit in, like I have to be one of these tough guys or gangbangers or whatever it is. But when you really look at it and look at where they go, it's a losing. Uh, it's not a productive path of life. So I tried to cling on to who I was as a at the heart, and tried to make myself into a better person as it went on. And yeah, as I got out, I just didn't want to live like that anymore, man. Like, yeah, it was good tattooing and learning something, but prison is something, and living in that whole lifestyle is just something that I'm not about anymore. I have no desire to um hang around with people that are messing up. I got no desire to ever be in that kind of situation again. And there, at this point, there's absolutely nothing that would ever get me to return back to a situation or a lifestyle like that. Like, I feel like I've almost died as my old self and been reborn as an entire new person. So, um, yeah.
Good for you for that, man. Look, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this thing up. I want to ask as we do so, though, anything you want to leave people with, like come follow me or any parting words. I want to say real quick, it's a pleasure getting this opportunity to speak with you. You're looking at the bottom of the barrel in terms of the tattoo game in prison. Dude, you were at the top. And hearing your experience and what you've shared here has been, you know, awesome. And to see where you are now in life, man, if it hadn't been for prison, the worst experience of your life, possibly, you
Yeah.
would not be where you are.
Yeah, absolutely not. Um, Absolutely not. Yeah, I guess the main thing I want to leave everybody with is like, if you're in a bad situation, if you're still fucking up, you don't want to go to where we've been. Like, it's not what you see on TV. It's way worse. And the best thing you can do is just find something that you really love to do and replace all the shit that's holding you back with things that you really, really love. Sometimes you got to search around, and sometimes it won't be what you thought it would be, but you got to find your passion and you got to put all your work in on that. But yeah, I'll leave my ways to get in touch if you want to check out my any of my tattoos or my artwork or anything like that. On Instagram, it's Slick Phillips _art. And on TikTok, I think it's Slick Phillips Art. Um, I think I'm on YouTube and Facebook and whatever. So if anything you see that's Slick SLICK Phillips Art is me. And yeah, that's all my things. And I'd love to continue to reach out and keep sharing my story. And I wanted to really prove myself on the street before I started even coming out about my past, because I don't think most people just see my tattoos and like great tattoos. But I'd like to start giving that backstory and start shedding a little light on what life can be like if you get your shit together. So that's pretty much it.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I appreciate you doing this interview here. It's been an honor to hear about your story and feature you here on After Prison Show. I look forward to sharing more and talking with you again sometime in the
Absolutely,
future.
Joe. Absolutely. And I appreciate you having me on too, man. I do appreciate it.
Heck yeah, man. Well, I'll talk with you later. All right.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
Yep.